as when they do so, very comfortable in their surroundings here. There is a Maasai giraffe here towards that left-hand side. I'm going to highlight this one first. If it does decide to graze here, they do have a very long coated black tongue, and in doing so they can graze about 18 to 20 hours of the day, which does allow them to get the most amount of food source that they can get. Down below here, left-hand side, baby giraffes lying down. When a baby giraffe is born, it will stand at a height of around 6 feet tall, and it doesn't walk until that first hour of life. However, it's a great skill that they need to have to be able to survive out in the wild. Seeing that fully grown Maasai giraffes do have a very powerful kick to protect themselves. Larger predators don't mess too much with them. Now the Maasai giraffe as well, some very awesome anatomical adaptations that they have here towards that left-hand side. Check out their very long strands of hair. Now, one single strand of hair is 10 times thicker than human hair. Collectively, they'll use it to swat any insects out in the wild that may be bothering them as well. The Maasai giraffe is the tallest land mammal. Because of that, they do have the biggest hearts that can grow to be 2 feet long, weighing around 25 pounds, which does make sense since they are the tallest land mammal. They have a very long neck as well, only containing 7 vertebrae, but very large hearts that they have allow circulation to pump all the way up through their necks and into their cranial region as well. Some other Maasai giraffes here down below towards that right-hand side. As I said, you guys are all part of their ecosystem currently at this time. Please remember not to whistle, hiss, call out, reach out for these animals close by. Seeing that they oftentimes, when they lie down, is seen as a vulnerability. And the Maasai giraffe will sleep about 30 minutes of the day. Those 30 minutes aren't even continuous. They can be very periodic. And it is oftentimes found with research as well that they can sleep about 5 to 10 minutes at a time. Left-hand side, very tall Maasai giraffe. Check out its very long neck. Beautiful Maasai giraffe pattern here. It will be grazing on that palm tree. Now we are going to make our way over some other animals towards that right-hand side. The Ankole cattle towards the right, very large horns, can grow to be 4 to 6 feet long. Their interior structure is a little bit more honeycomb-like, containing blood vessels that allows it to thermoregulate. And in the back section, the white-bearded wildebeest. Now the white-bearded wildebeest out in the wild can travel in very large herds, up to 1.5 million at a time, traveling distances of 500 to a little over 1,000 miles each and every year. When the white-bearded wildebeest will sleep out in the wild, it does so in rows. If there is a larger predator out in the area, they can actually wake up and start darting forward. Now this second part of the savanna section is a little bit more rough and rugged terrain. African elephant all the way towards that back right-hand side as well. They have very large areas of surface that don't have any fur coats, so they will need a very large watering hole to cool themselves down. Much like what you are seeing down below towards that right-hand side as well. African elephants are heavily poached out in the wilds for their white ivory tusks to be sold on the black market as a symbol of status or wealth. Make sure you guys are seated for me, please. Thank you. If you angle yourself towards that right-hand side, diagonally all the way out towards the right, that is the African elephant. Now we are going to follow this curvature route and take the alternative route, seeing that there is a road closed sign down below here towards the right. I personally do like to take this route myself, seeing that I get to spend a little bit more time with you guys and we get to highlight some of the key features here with the posterior side of the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. While we continue to move forward, are there any questions on board from any of my safari travelers today? Any questions at all? Question in the back? Can someone pass that question midway up?
What are the chains on the road for?
And that's an excellent question, and I only get it once in a while. The chains down below do indicate a new location into the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. They are referred to as cattle guards. The cattle guards also serve 2 other purposes. They will notify any animals close by that the trucks are in the focal point here of the Harambe Wildlife Reserve in the near vicinity, as well as if we do pick up any dust, debris, mud, dirt, anything that might have caught onto the tire, the cattle chain guards will actually clean those tires as well. Thank you so much for that question. While we head on forward, It does look like there is an African elephant here towards that left-hand side. Have your cameras out and ready. Seeing that we will come across a very social herd. Now, African elephants will actually live in a matriarch society, allowing the oldest and the wisest of the African elephant females to lead the herd across the savanna each and every year. Towards that left-hand side, African elephant out in this yard section. What it is currently doing with its ears flapping them at this time is to allow some of that blood circulation to get to its very large ears, and in doing so, flapping it will thermoregulate it as well, or cool down. Check out its very long trunk. It can actually graze in those mid-lower sections, and in doing so, bringing it closer to its oral region. Towards that right-hand side, white-bearded wildebeest once again. African elephants do follow very similar tendencies to what humans, not everyone, but usually the average human does at the end of the day regroup back with their families, which is exactly the same thing that the African elephant will do. The baby African elephant is going to be on the edge right-hand side of the watering hole close by. So I'm going to go fairly slowly. You'll probably not see it here in that midsection, but once we get to the Flamingo Island here with the curvature, it'll be off towards that left-hand side. Baby elephant, that is a male, will only live in the herd until the age of 15. After that, they remain a little bit more active than females would like. And down below here towards that left-hand side, you are spotting Flamingo Island. These are the greater flamingos. They are the lightest in coloring and the tallest of all the flamingos, standing at a height of around 5 feet tall, can filter feed through brine shrimp in the water. Getting the beta-carotene from the brine shrimp gives it this very light and pink coloring. And towards that middle section on the back, you are spotting the African elephant, probably close to mother right there. Unfortunately, a lot of these beautiful animals are heavily poached out in the wilds for their coats, tusks, or horns to be sold on the black market as a symbol of status. So, well, towards that left-hand side, you guys will see some of the poached items that would have been sold on the black market. Much like the white rhino that's going to be here close in the area, and product there to the left-hand side. Very, very unfortunate, my friends. Yes, we will spot those animals. Please make sure not to call out for them, seeing that white rhinos aren't territorial, but they can still charge up to speeds of 30 to 35 miles per hour. So please make sure not to have your voice levels too loud. But yes, identifying them is perfectly fine. However, we don't want to disturb their ecosystem. White rhinos here in large groupings are known as a crash. White rhinos as well are in fact heavily poached out in the wilds for their horns on top of their heads as well. White rhinos specifically have a little bit lower visibility. They can only see about 15 feet right in front of their head region. But this mud wallow down below, the white rhino that's in this section as well, actually has been rolling around in the mud wallow. And in doing so, will allow it to cool itself down, as well as when it leaves, leave completely coated in mud, which will be an additional barrier to give more protection from that sunlight, as well as a bug repellent. Alright. Now in the open yard section here, towards that left-hand side, we are going to keep a close eye out for any animals that might be within. I have already spotted one of the cheetahs. If you follow your eyesight forward all the way out towards that first yard section, in that middle area where it does look brown, there is a yellow, what looks like to be like a lung, that is a cheetah. And in the second yard section, there are 3 cheetahs. If you divide the yard by quarters, there's one in the first quarter and one in the third quarter. The cheetah is the fastest land mammal. Because of that, they can run up to very high speeds, 60 to 65 miles per hour in 0 to 3 seconds. But they can push speeds of 70 miles per hour. Some very cool anatomical adaptations. They have very flexible spines to move their 2 frontal legs further past its body so that it can run up to very high speeds. Their tails they will use as a traction if they need to quickly switch directions. It'll help them balance them out. And then when they run or walk, they do so with their claws out. For some of my adult omnivores and other physiological abilities, larger nostrils and bigger hearts. Larger nostrils intake more oxygen, bigger hearts to pump more blood as they run quickly. Those oxygen levels need to be delivered as well. So, bigger hearts to pump that blood and deliver the oxygen to their muscles. Now, towards that left-hand side, you guys are spotting the Kopi. And the Kopi Rock section is a great location for an animal like the lion to come out and rest. But lions are in fact nocturnal animals and will rest about 18 to 20 hours of the day, being most active at nighttime. So if we don't get the opportunity to see the lion here, probably the best reason why we're not spotting them. However, symbolically enough, since the first release of Disney's The Lion King's animated film, we've actually lost half the lions out there in the world. They have actually been disappearing since that first release. With only 20,000 lions left in the world, to put it into perspective at a smaller scale, there are more people in this theme park today, including each and every single one of you guys, than there are lions left in the world by the end of the day today. Towards that left-hand side, the warthog section here, about 5 feet back from that middle tree, there are 2 warthogs. The warthog is the largest burrowing animal. 2 different types of tusks that it has, the larger ones to burrow, and the smaller ones to fend off any predators as well. Now I'm going to make my way here from right to left. Down below towards that right-hand side in the middle section is the Bontebok, personally my favorite animal in the reserve. They are heavily poached out in the wild for this purple iridescent color that underlies beneath their brown coats. Purple is a very rare color on the black market. Ostrich eggs, and then the ostrich all the way toward that back left-hand side. My friends in the back, make sure you guys are seated for me. Thank you. 1 ostrich egg is the equivalent of 2 dozen chicken eggs. A full-grown human could stand on an ostrich egg and they would not crack, which is why the ostrich feels very comfortable sharing that space with the Bontebok, water buck, and the white rhino.